Teofimo Lopez calls out Devin Haney. Before I get into that, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, hit that sub, hit that bell. With that being done, let's get into the video. Man, I cannot believe this. $10 million is what Teofimo Lopez tells Eddie Hearn he wants to fight Devin Haney. Now, I looked up Teofimo Lopez's biggest purse, and it was against Lomachenko, who was already a bigger name than Devin Haney, all right? In that fight, Teo made around 2.6 million. I think it was 2.59 to be exact, but we'll round up and say 2.6 million. So basically, he wants 3.8 times the amount of his highest purse for this fight, and that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because at the end of the day, Devin Haney holds the other belt. He holds the other WBC belt that really will give Teofimo Lopez the claim to undisputed. Regardless how you feel, regardless of how much of a fan you are, regardless how much you love Teofimo Lopez, it's irrelevant because at the end of the day, Devin Haney is the real WBC champion. I don't give any respect to franchise. I don't see it as a real belt. It's not legitimate in my mind. And the fact of the matter is, it's not a higher belt, in my opinion. Mauricio has reneged so many times on what that belt represents. First, he said that belt transcends the sport. It should be for a fighter who transcends the sport, and the belt cannot be won. It cannot be passed, and it cannot be fought for. But yet, Teofimo Lopez won the belt by beating Lomachenko, so he went back on his word against the Canelo belt, because basically that's what was created for, Canelo, so he could jump around all weight classes. So, again, it's a bullshit belt. And as good as his win was over Lomachenko, he's not undisputed. So at the end of the day, if Teo really wants to be undisputed, if he really wants to fight Devin Haney, he needs to come with a real offer. He's not worth $10 million, not yet. Now, if he was like 3.5, 4, I could see that because he wants his highest payday to get in there against Devin Haney, who is another legit champion. If that was his offer, if he's looking for a flat fee, you know what? He might be pricing himself more than he's worth, but hey, at least it's a realistic number where he's trying to edge out a little more than he's ever got. But come on, man. You can't be almost 4 times the amount of your highest payday and think that that's actually going to fly, to think that people are actually going to think you're serious about fighting Devin Haney. And the thing is, I believe and I think Teo could beat Devin Haney, but this really seems like he doesn't want to get in the ring with him by just putting this dollar amount on there. It's ridiculous. It's straight ridiculous. And I know fanboys is going to, cheerlead and do what they always do because they can't seem to get off the little wagon, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, this is what's killing boxing. Guys who make unrealistic, claims and say, get in there with me for this amount, knowing that nobody will get in there for that amount because they'll never make that money back. Because at the end of the day, boxing is a business. So you've got to make some type of profit. You can't go into a fight and be negative. Like, you figure Eddie gives him $4 million, right? And then Haney takes whatever he's going to take, say a couple of million on top. Let's just say $3 million. So you got $7 million right there, right? Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm doing it as if it was his lowest payday. So that's $13 million right there if Haney would go that low. Okay. Pretty much that would be 10 million to 3 million split. I don't even know if Haney would take that because of the discrepancy in the pay, but let's just say he did. You got $13 million right there. Does anybody actually believe that these guys could generate $13 million? I don't. I really don't. And I know people look at Eddie Hearn as like a guy who overpays to get his fighters to fight. And that's true. A lot of his fighters were overpaid, but however, you have to do that in his situation. Why? Because it's like starting a business from scratch. You've got to have enough money to cover you, they say, for 2 years if you make no profits. It's the same thing with how Eddie Hearn did boxing. Sorry, y'all. I'm just waking up, stumbling on my words. Same way that he did in his boxing thing with the zone. You overprice, so therefore you can make a stamp. You got to get these marquee fighters like Canelo, Triple G, etc. to fight for you, and you're coming out of nowhere to do it. So you have to overpay, but once you make your mark, you no longer overpay. Now you dial it back and you start making the profit. So you're investing in yourself. You're taking a loss up front to hopefully pay off in the end. So That's what it is. I think Eddie Hearn's days, especially with COVID, of overpaying fighters is over. And that's what I was, a long story I was getting to. But yeah, I think he's done overpaying. And I don't think this fight happens if Tio really pushes $10 million. And I mean, really, who's he going to fight? Ryan Garcia? Maybe. But then he might ask for the same amount. He might ask for $10 million to fight Ryan Garcia. You know, the thing that's crazy to me about Teofimo Lopez is he claimed that Lomachenko was a diva, right? But every time Tio sees a camera, he acts like a fucking diva. So I don't know. I think he's a little bit hypocritical right there in what he's been saying. But right now, he does hold 3 of the 4 major belts. Franchise don't count. And I believe he's lineal as well. Probably Ring Magazine on top of that. Although those are imaginary belts. Those are just like the franchise title. They're figmented that people put respect behind lineal because that means you're the man that beat the man, but it doesn't actually exist. Ring Magazine doesn't actually exist. It's a hypothetical and it's opinion based of who the man was, why the man, okay, that's the lineal, you beat him, now you're the lineal, and Ring Magazine is who we believe is the true number 1. This guy's number 1, so he's got our belt, but it's not a belt that actually can be won in the ring. It's an opinion-based belt. So again, the guy's got all the things going for him. If they were to fight, yes, I do believe that Tio should get the bigger portion of the pot. 60-40 split, maybe 65-35 split. I don't know what it would be because you would have to look at how much both guys earn, because my thing about AB side is this. It's dictated by who makes the most money, who puts the most asses in seats. Before Tio fought Lomachenko, his numbers weren't all that good. However, he just beat Lomachenko, did great numbers fighting Lomachenko. His next fight against his mandatory coming up will tell you what type of star he is. However much money he makes off of that and however many people tune in to see it will tell you exactly how big of a star he has become by beating Lomachenko. Now, if he makes $15 million off his next fight, then we can all say that $10 million is lowballing if he can make that off his next fight. But we don't know what he's going to make off his next fight until he fights that fight and gets in there with his mandatory. So time will tell how much he's really worth, because if he ends up only making $1 to $2 million without Lomachenko's name attached to him, or the venue is a flop, well, there it is. There's your answer of what type of star he is and what type of money he's worth. Again, there is a business side to it. And sometimes these guys price themselves out on the business side. I'm not saying Tio did that, but time will tell if he did. But I do think it's a ridiculous offer. I think it's too much. And at the most, I say $4 million. At the least to make it happen, I say $3 million, because that's still more than he ever made in a single fight. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. This really isn't a video about who would win, who could beat who, but more or less a video of how ridiculous $10 million is. Again, I will restate what I said in the beginning. That's 3.8 times rounding, because I believe if you really do the math, it's probably like 3.8, 4, 5-ish times the 2.6. Well, that's even rounded. So it's like 2.59. So yeah, it's going to be somewhere around there, like 3.867 if you do the 0.59, somewhere around there. So yeah, it's close to 4 times the amount he's ever made. Ridiculous. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Thank y'all again for watching.